Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're jumping into Rumi's Masnavi, specifically Book 1. It's just packed with profound stuff.
Absolutely. It's a spiritual epic, really.
Our mission, let's say, is to kind of unpack his insights on our, inner struggle, spiritual growth.
And he uses such vivid poetry, these amazing metaphors. Fire and light are big ones we'll hit today.
Exactly. And how they help us understand our own desires, our actions. So yeah, let's get right into it.
Rumi definitely doesn't hold back.
Okay.
He uses these powerful elemental images to make really complex internal stuff feel
Oh,
real,
yeah.
tangible.
Right off the bat, he hits us with this line about desire, specifically lust. This fire of lust is not controlled by water because it shares its nature with hell's torture.
Wow. What's he saying there about this fire?
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? He's framing lust not just as some fleeting impulse, but as this deep, burning internal fire.
Uh-huh.
And the key is ordinary things, like water, outward fixes.
Yeah.
They just can't put it out. It points to something much deeper, a spiritual issue. Okay, so if water doesn't work, what does? What's Rumi's fix for this inferno?
Yeah. Well, he gives us the answer. He
Yeah.
says, the light of faith is lust's fire's only cure, and adds God's light for its superior.
The light of faith.
Exactly. And he tells us to make the light of Abraham your teacher. It's this call to move beyond our ego, our sort of destructive side, what he calls the Nimrod-like self's fire.
Nimrod, the tyrant who challenged Abraham.
Right. The goal is transformation, becoming like
Okay.
incense, purified, offering something spiritually good. Rumi also says indulging desires like placing planks of wood on the fire.
It just fuels it more. Makes sense.
Exactly. So the solution feels counterintuitive, but it's denial. Starving the fire, withholding its fuel. As he puts it, for waters poured on it through being good. True goodness, true faith. That's the extinguisher.
Okay, sticking with fire, Rumi brings in this incredible story, a historical parable from Omar's time. A huge fire in Medina.
Yeah, really dramatic story. This fire was apparently so intense it could consume huge rocks as if they were dry wood. And get this, water, afraid of this, then fled the town. Even mixing vinegar didn't work. The flames just kept spreading, getting support straight from the limitless.
Sounds terrifying. So how does this connect back to the inner state?
Well, the people, totally desperate, go to Omar, the Caliph. And Omar has this incredible insight. He just declares, this is a sign from God, no less. It's due to your own flame-filled stinginess.
Stinginess. He saw the fire as a reflection of their avarice, their lack of generosity.
Precisely. Their inner fire of greed and possessiveness manifested outwardly. That's how Omar saw it.
And his solution wasn't get more water, was it? It was something else entirely.
Completely unexpected. He says, what use is water now? Distribute bread. Stop being stingy if by me you're led.
Distribute bread. So generosity was the answer to the fire, but did they really get it? Was it just about the action?
Ah, that's the crucial point. Rumi dives deeper. When the people protested saying they were generous, Omar calls them out.
What did he say?
He hits hard. You gave bread then because of rules and out of habit, not for God, you fools, just to show off about your piety, not out of fear and inner poverty.
Ouch. So it wasn't real generosity.
Not in the way that mattered spiritually. It was done for show, out of habit, maybe even social pressure. Not from a place of genuine faith or humility, that inner poverty he mentions.
Right. The intention behind the action is everything.
Exactly. It's a huge lesson. True spiritual action has to come from a pure intention, a connection with the divine, not just ticking boxes or looking good. It's about real inner change.
That really makes you pause and think, doesn't it? How often do we act out of habit versus real conviction? So pulling this together, these inner fires, the importance of intention, what's the practical takeaway Rumi leaves us with?
He wraps it up very practically, actually.
Yeah.
He gives advice on navigating life, saying, don't sow the seed of wealth on rotten land. Don't place a dagger in a robber's hand. Discern the faithful from the enemy. With those who know the Lord, keep company.
Okay, so be discerning. Choose wisely where you put your energy, your resources, who you associate with.
Yes. It's about conscious stewardship. Being aware. Don't waste your wealth, whether literal or metaphorical energy, time, whatever, on things that won't bear good fruit. Don't enable harm. Seek out wise and faithful company. It all ties back to making choices aligned with genuine spiritual growth.
So to sum up Rumi's wisdom for today, really look at those inner fires, desires, stinginess, whatever they are. Understand that the real cure comes from faith, from God's light, sometimes through denial, not just surface fixes. And critically, check your intention. Act from a place of truth, not just habit or show. It makes you think, where are you sowing your seed?
And maybe a final thought to carry with you. How might actually recognizing the real source of your inner struggles, your own fires, change how you deal with everyday challenges and the people around you? Rumi really invites that deeper self-reflection.
A really powerful question. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Rumi's incredible wisdom. We appreciate you being part of our community.